Now we've got this question: if a fair die is rolled, find the probability of obtaining number 1, obtaining number 3, obtaining number 3 or 4. Now let's solve this. Now remember, the first thing is to write the formula for probability. We have probability equals to number of required outcome all over number of possible outcome. So if I roll a fair die, I've got 6 possibilities. It's either I get 1, I get 2, I get 3, I get 4, I get 5, or I get 6. Does that make sense? Now we've got find the probability of obtaining 1. So the probability of obtaining 1 equals to, how many 1s do we have in these possibilities? We have just 1, so we'll put 1 all over. What's the total number of possibility? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the probability of obtaining 1 is 1 over 6. Do you understand? Now let's do, what's the probability of obtaining 3? Now probability of obtaining 3 equals to, now in these possibilities, how many 3s do we have? 1. So we have 1 all over. What's the total number of possibilities? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the probability of obtaining 3 is also 1 over 6. Do you understand? Now let's do C, the probability of obtaining number 3 or 4. So we have C, probability of obtaining 3 or 4. I hope you've not forgotten what I told you all represents in probability. It represents plus. So this equals to probability of obtaining 3 plus probability of obtaining 4. Now we've got the probability of obtaining 3 as 1 over 6. So we need to get the probability of obtaining 4. Then we can now slot it into this. Do you understand? Now remember, probability of obtaining 4 will be equals to, how many 4s do we have here? We have just 1 4. So that will be 1 all over. How many possibilities could we have had? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So probability of obtaining 4 is still 1 over 6. Do you understand? So we slot it into the formula. Let me clean up so that we can get space. So it means we will be having probability of obtaining 3 or 4 will be equals to 1 over 6, which is the probability of obtaining 3, plus 1 over 6, which is the probability of obtaining 4. Do you understand? I just slot it into this formula. So we find the LCM. LCM of 6 and 6 is 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Plus 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So we have 2 all over 6. And 2 all over 6 will give us 1 over 3. So this here is the probability of obtaining 3 or 4. Now lastly, let's try to find the probability of obtaining 1, 2, or 6. 1, 2, or 6. So can we do that? Now don't forget the possible outcomes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now remember, we've gotten probability of obtaining 1 as 1 over 6. Now for probability of obtaining 6, how many 6 do we have? 1. What is the possible outcome? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So probability of obtaining 6 is still 1 over 6. And probability of obtaining 2, we have 1, 2. So we'll put 1 over 6. Do you understand? So it means the probability of obtaining 1, 2, or 6 will be equals to, what's the probability of obtaining 1? 1 over 6 plus What's the probability of obtaining 2? 1 over 6. What's the probability of obtaining 6? 1 over 6. Remember, the reason we add is because of the OR. So let's find the LCM. LCM of 6, 6, and 6 is 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Plus 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Plus 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So we have equals to 1 plus 1 plus 1 will give us 3 over 6. 3 here 1, 3 and 6 is 2, so we have 1 over 2. I hope you understand. Now don't forget, if you have a fair coin, the possible outcomes is H or T, head or tail. So if they ask you what's the probability of obtaining a head, you have just one head, so that will be 1 all over. How many possible outcomes do we have? 2, so 1 over 2. Do you understand? And then for a fair die, the possible outcome is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the probability of obtaining each of any of them is 1 over 6. I hope you understand.